Growing up, I had dreams and aspirations, but always felt like the kid that didn't fit in. For the most part, I wasn't a bad kid, but when I made the transition into adulthood, I turned to the streets for guidance. This led to getting locked up in juvenile hall, doing time in CYA, and eventually a 120-month sentence in federal prison. I had a lot of time to think and reflect during my federal sentence, so I share with you what I learned, hoping I can positively influence someone else's life with Prison Talk.
What up? Big Herc 916. You tuned in to another Prison Talk. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share the channel. Let's blow this thing wide open. Our goal is to hit 1 million subscribers before the end of the year. And when we do that, we're going to do a big giveaway. So support, represent, and leave a comment. So I posted a video the other day, and it was called Alabama Inmates Are on Strike, Faced with Slave Conditions. And there were a lot of comments, mainly positive, but some talking mess, you know, Big Herc, you know, you shouldn't go to jail if you don't want to be in those conditions. It's not racist to be in jail and have to, you know, live like that. You committed a crime, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, at the end of the day, man, I don't know if a lot of you guys have seen most of my videos, but my message is, if you want to be in a proper environment and you want to enjoy the fruits of life, then don't commit crime. I'm telling you the things about like being treated less than human and the animalistic mentality to try to give you a vision that you don't want to go there. I'm not mad, man. I mean, I went through some stuff, and the whole time I was going through it, I was like, what a dumbass I was to rob a bank. I accept full responsibility for my actions, man. It's not like I'm asking for sympathy, or I'm saying that you know, certain people shouldn't get some type of sympathy. I mean, you want to be able to rehabilitate yourself if you made a mistake. At the end of the day, you should want to. You should want to come out and be better. But there are some people who just can't do that. And so you fall into a net where there are people who are good, but you're not really able to separate those people who are good from those who are dark and evil as far as their aura. And you have to take that with everything else when you're in prison. I mean, unless you go through and you talk to every inmate in an institution, you don't know who's on what type of page. And that's one of the things about prison. And you can't talk to everybody. You don't want to talk to everybody because some people are just not the type of people you'd want to open up to. There's some very master manipulative people in there, and their whole thing is to figure out how they can possibly violate you, maybe extort you, or cause harm to you or your family. So you got to be careful. But if you are somebody who's trying to do better when you get out, then you have to work hard to achieve that. And that's your job, man. I mean, prisons in America aren't here to really rehabilitate you, you know, because of all the bullshit going on inside the prisons. It's so many other challenges that you have to overcome, and to hold on to your views that have any type of moral value, you have to be very strong in mind. The only thing that saved me was hearing my mom's voice, hearing my grandmother's voice, reflecting on what they used to tell me when I was a child, and my upbringing on military bases, being around good people. I was able to tap into that. But if you don't have that, if all your memories are very just negative, drugs and violence, bad home, rough childhood, maybe you don't have anything to look forward to. And so when you're in there, you're just on some, I'm going to do what I got to do time. And once you accept that mentality, it's hard to turn back away from that to go back to normal. You can't straddle the fence. It's like you either go all the way one way or you're all the way the other way, or you're trying to hold on to the other way, which is your sanity. And that's prison, man. I mean, the conditions, man, look, people are, living like that on the street, some people. And this is the thing too, I always say that the guy or the person sometimes complaining, you got to think about what you did to get there. If you beat an old lady, if you robbed somebody, if you shot at somebody, and now you're dealing with these things, do you not think that that is karma coming back? If you're in a place that's so dark, so grim, do you not realize that that's the universe coming back to you full circle? That's how I had to look at it sometimes. When I think about like situations that I had to deal with in prison, I think about maybe some of the choices I made on the street that weren't the best choices, and how those choices came back now to resurface in an experience. See, when you're not in the act and you see people and they're like, well, man, the police, they beat me up, they did this, and oh man, they shot that dude, or that guy resisted arrest. And then you find out that this guy maybe has two bodies. Maybe this guy used to beat his girlfriend. Maybe he raped somebody. Maybe he did this. See, you don't get the full story. And they don't know the full story when they're beating them up. But the bottom line is there's things that are unsaid that have consequences. And even if they're not said, you might not know, you might have got that shitty police officer that day. And that's basically that energy that found your ass and resulted in you catching an ass whooping. Now, I'm not saying it's justified because this is a person in law enforcement, but what I'm saying is there are things that happen. Just like, you're somewhere and a dude is like, what's up, man? And you're like, nothing. And you're like, hey, man, break yourself, man. Let me get that chain up off you. Or let me get that watch. You're like, man, what's up with this? Maybe you did something to get to that energy. Maybe you didn't. You don't even have to do anything to get that energy. But what I'm saying is you have to try your best in life to always vibrate at a higher frequency, and hopefully you don't attract that. I've been in multiple situations with the police, and most of my interactions have been when I had did something wrong. And I'm not saying that you can't be subject to that when you're doing something right, but my attitude in situations where I wasn't doing anything wrong prevented a conflict, prevented me from going further into a situation that could have turned bad. I've been pulled over by police in Malibu, and there was literally six, seven, maybe 8 police cars. And I was at night, probably like 10:30 at night. I was at some little restaurant trying to pick up on some cougars. And they pulled me over. I was in a Cadillac Sedan DeVille, 95, tinted window. There was the wrong car for the wrong area. And the police didn't even ask me for my insurance. He just asked me for my license. And I want to say just my license. I don't even know if he asked me for my registration. But he asked me multiple times, have I ever been arrested or was I on parole or probation? And I told him no. I lied. You know, right to be secure in persons. You know, I asserted my, you know, my right to not incriminate myself. So no, you've never been arrested? You've never been arrested? I said, nah, man. So you're not on parole or probation? I said, no. Now, if I would have said, yeah, I would have been out on the curb. They would have tore the car up. And who knows what could have been found or maybe been discovered. But I was on probation. And, you know, fortunately, it didn't come up. And then when they came back and gave me my driver's license, and I think maybe it was my registration, they said, "You sure you've never been lost?" I said, "No." He said, "Oh, you know, we had you mistaken possibly for somebody else," and he let me go. And I'm like, you know, God or the universe was on my side that day, because I was, you know, I think fresh out the halfway house. I was still trying to find my way. I hadn't been out maybe 4 months, man. And that's something I dealt with, but it just goes back to, like I said, man, is you got to try to do good in the world if you want good to come back to you. And that's been my biggest thing, is to try to do good since I've been out, to help other people, to change my journey going forward with good karma, you know, good energy. And you know, darkness, man, it always finds its adversary. No matter how much stuff you think you got away, it might not come back to bite you for maybe 20, 30 years, 40 years. And it might be something that happens to somebody in your family that's unrelated, but yet it still affects you because of things you've done in your past. So this is stuff you just got to think about, man. And I tell you this just from just studying energy, people's vibrations, different auras. You know, I remember another story while I was in, and there was a guy up in there, and Lompoc USP, man, 2001. And this dude came up in there, and he was talking about high power Crip stuff, and he was what I would call a super Crip. And I can't remember where he was from. I don't think he was from California, but he was going through there and this and that, man. I'm like, man, I seen the dude and I seen how he was carrying himself. And in Lompoc USP, man, you want to mind your business, man. You ain't trying to be no superhero up in there or super gangster, because there's always somebody more gangster that will call you on your bullshit. And I said to myself, I'll give that guy 2 weeks. And it wasn't 2 weeks, man. Somebody split his wig, man, and never seen him again. He got his wig split hard. I mean, they busted it to the white meat. And so, energy, man, energy. You know, what you put out into the world, what you get back. But you guys, if you miss my message, my whole message is stay out of prison. Don't do wrong to people. Don't go beating up people. Don't hit people upside the head and just do random crime. And you won't have to be subject to that stuff. And, you know, as far as the racism, somebody even said it in the video. It's like, you know, Big Herc, you know, California prison is probably more racist than Alabama. And I probably would say you're probably right, because California is where a lot of the racial groups started from and spread out across the country. And it's very racial. You know, I've talked to people down south before where black and white guys in Chicago and other places, they don't trip like that. But California, see, California racism, man, it's not in your face, but it's in your face. Somebody will smile and call you an N-word right behind your back, where in most places you know right off the top where they're at. And even when I went to Alabama, man, I didn't experience any racism whatsoever. I actually had fans out there. So shout out to Orange Coast, you know, Alabama. And I was in Birmingham and the Orange Coast, you know, and I didn't see anything that made me feel uncomfortable. It wasn't like, oh man, you know, I'm black, I better be careful. But yeah, man, I mean, I've seen racism in California, and you know, it is what it is. There's racism everywhere. But yeah, I put that video up to get your attention, to get the comments, and create some conversation, and hopefully, people will show this to their kids and tell them, man, that, you don't want to go to prison. You won't have to be on the chain gang. Go take a trade, go to college. You don't do dumb shit. You won't have to deal with a dumb reality, at the end of the day. So, sympathy, I mean, I'm not saying there's any sympathy, because, the same guy who's complaining about the toilet in there might have shanked somebody the day before. But at the same time, I'm saying, if you have gone through the system, you want to try to better yourself, but not everybody is trying to better themselves. And some people, once they get in there, they realize that, oh shit, it's not what I thought it was. And that's just what I'm trying to share with you guys, to open your mind so you can see that it's bigger, man. It's not what these guys are trying to, promote you to think. It's not this place where you're going to kick it and spread and all cell phones and all that, man. It could be a nasty place, man. And the people working there, they're doing their job. I'm not even mad, man, because when I left, hey, man, the day I got out, man, hey, I checked out of there. Wasn't nobody tripping, man. I mean, it is what it is. So I'm not mad at the system. Dude, look, I did some shit that put me in there, and I got out. I paid my dues. Hey, man, I did what I did, and, I went through and paid my karma, man. So I hope this video creates more conversation and opens up some people's minds to what you deal with when you're inside, and what you can prevent so you don't have to go inside there to be subjected to that bullshit. Big Herc 916, getting down fresh out. I'm Big Herc, and I have over a decade of experience in the prison system. Yeah, I've done a lot of time, made a lot of stupid mistakes, but that's why I'm here with you today, educating you on the Mastermind program by Fresh Out. See, they don't give you a manual when you go to jail on how to survive. They don't tell you how to go take a shower, where to sit at when you go to chow, what to do when you have mail call, how to handle your commissary. See, we cover that and a multitude of other topics that are very important, because if you do the wrong thing, you can get your damn wig split. We have over 100 million views as of date on our YouTube channel, but we've put and condensed all this knowledge into this Mastermind program so that you can provide your client with a winning chance. Do yourself a favor and your client a favor, and sign them up for our program so they don't have to get their wig split and they can make it out alive. Stop walking around with a crusty butt, smelly ball sack, and a funky hoo-ha. Big Herc said, wash that ass. Pick you up a t-shirt at freshoutseries.com.